Here we go. We're going to be talking today about crisis management, and we hope you guys are hanging in there with the fear piece. We're going to talk about how to manage your fears. And, I'm Gil.
I'm Beth.
Yep. And welcome to our series, Crisis Management. We're going to talk as an online community about how to deal with our fears today, because I think people are going, give me some great application on this, because I'm seeing my fear get a little bit toxic. Toxic. It's going into a zone that I know is not good for me,
Yeah. So this is the first of a 4-part series, okay, and how to manage your fear. And we'll talk about what we're doing next week. But let's just be honest. We are all dealing with fear daily anyway, even if we aren't in the middle of a global pandemic.
Yep.
Okay, we have fear that comes up every day.
Yep.
So how do we deal with it? Okay, that's the question, and Gil will be right back in a minute. Okay, so how do we deal with our fear? It shows up every day, and you have a decision to make with it every day.
Yep.
So do you want to talk about that split?
I do. So here's what I'll do, okay? When I talk to people, I'll say, hey, we've got to do what I call the 51-49 split. 51 being courage, 49 being fear, okay? When that fear piece jumps above 50% and your courage piece then drops into the 40s, that's when it's toxic. That's when all of a sudden you're going, okay, this split is not in my favor. I need it to be 51 courage, 49 on the side of fear. And here's why, okay? We all have fear, right? And I look at it as like we're all driving a bus, right? We're like driving along. I'm the bus driver. Back here I got fear, anger, sadness, loneliness, you name it. All the emotions are back here that I'm driving. What fear wants to do is kick you out of the seat and say, I'm going to drive. I'm going to drive. My deal is to say, hey, I see you back there, and I'm not going to let you drive the bus. Yeah. I know you're there. I'm very consciously aware of it, and I'm not going to let you do it. So fear's always knocking, right there with that little, curtain I've got there. It's always going, come on, let me drive, right? Yeah. And at some point, for a lot of us, we decide that's okay. Go ahead and drive. And that's when that 51-49 changes. And all of a sudden, fear's driving the bus and your courage is somewhere else. And that's when we kind of struggle right there.
Yeah, just to explain a little bit, all of our emotions are on a continuum. Okay? So there are extremes on every continuum, right? So extreme fear is toxic fear. Right. We can also actually have healthy fear. Okay, healthy fear can get us going. But like Gil's saying, what's your split? Okay, are you 85% fear and 15% courage, 15% love? We're not going to do so well. Yeah. Okay, so every emotion has a continuum, including fear. Fear can be toxic, and it is toxic for a lot of us right now. What is so toxic about fear if you let it drive the bus? Well, you can't make any movement. Yeah. If fear is driving that bus, it has just taken you away like a lasso around you and thrown you somewhere else, taken you away. You can't even think. So toxic fear blocks any movement in our lives. One of the things that I also want to share around this is, and with all things, but especially with fear, pay attention to where you focus your attention. What are you spending your attention on right now? Where are you focusing your attention and your intention? We know your intention is also powerful. So where are you focusing it? What you're paying attention to all day, every day, is what you're pouring yourself into and what you are loving.
That's right.
What you pay attention to is what you love. So be a steward of your thoughts. Be a steward of where you are focusing your attention right now. We have to stay in the present moment right now more than ever. If we go into future tripping, which is what Gil calls it, I love that, which is fear of the future. The future that we imagine in our minds through the lens of fear is always worse than the actual future is going to be. So we go future tripping. Oh my God, the world is going to end. The future is always, we always think it's going to be worse than it ever really even will be, even if we're in a pandemic. We go into that future tripping. worst case scenario, I'm going to lose everything, everyone I love is going to die, I might die too, the world's going to end. Okay, well, what about God? We'll talk about that later. But we go into future tripping and create a future worse than it actually ever is. So we have to stay vigilant of our thoughts and where we focus our attention and where we set our intention.
Yeah, this week, one of the things Beth brought up was that in the New York Times on the front cover, they basically just said, here's all the worst case scenarios that could happen in every area if this virus, takes off, if it meets these equations that, we're putting out there. And Beth just looked at me, she goes, I don't think I can read that. Like, I think I need to get away from that. I've already got my mind future tripping. Good thing for me, I'm always back here beating myself up in the past, so I don't have as much energy to do that.
And they made it sound like they didn't say worst case scenario either. They're like, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah, so they're throwing it out there, right? People reading that going, whoa. So that night, Dr. Drew was asked about this, and he's one of our heroes through this whole thing. And again, he got back, and you don't see him get emotional much, and he was pissed.
Yeah.
I mean, he was sitting there going, man, that's just not the kind of journalism we need. We need the facts. We don't need somebody else future tripping for us. We already do that enough. And man, when she told me that, I was like, wow. And here's the deal, and Beth will talk about this. She gets this part more than anyone I know is, what happens after you're paralyzed, you're obsessing, you leave the present moment. The fourth thing that happens is your body is in fight or flight and it gets sick. Your body will actually tell you. And I mean, you're the one on this one.
Well, what happens, and I have clients around the world that I love dearly, and friends and family too, but they call and they're scared. Oh, I just read the New York Times, Beth. This is going on for 18 months. So then my job is to say that's worst case scenario thinking. That isn't living in the present moment. That isn't being a steward of your attention. That is not, we're going to talk about the God piece here too. So that's toxic. That is encouraging toxic fear amongst all of us. Yeah. So what happens to the body? Okay, so yeah, you're paralyzed if you're in toxic fear. You're obsessing in your mind, and you've got the TV on all the time because you're obsessing in your mind about this. Okay, so you're obsessing, and then your body goes to pot. I guess that's an old Midwest saying, but your body goes to pot. Okay, what happens? When you are in fight or flight mode 24/7, or you got that TV on 24/7, yes, you need information about this pandemic. That's true. You need information, but you don't need to be freebasing it 24/7. Yeah. Okay, so your body goes into fight or flight. And there's something called the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis in the body, which is basically being over-adrenalized, wearing yourself out on adrenaline. And when that happens and your body's in fight or flight, you can't sleep, you're stressed, you're anxious, you can't digest food, you can't be in joy, you can't be in love. You're not in connection with God, yourself, or others when you're in fight or flight because you're racing, you're running from a tiger. And they've literally shown in research, including Bruce Lipton, who's one of my heroes, your cells are either in fear or love. They can't be in both at the same time. So your cells are in fear, you're running from a tiger, and literally we have been given this fight or flight ability if we needed it back in the day to run from a tiger. But we're doing it now 24/7. We're running from a tiger, so we're not resting, rejuvenating. And the worst part is it actually depresses your immune function. Okay? So if you're running from a tiger all the time, you don't have good immune function to even fight a virus that comes in. So please keep that in mind and take care of yourself and where you're focusing your attention.
Yeah, I just want to say here, because that's awesome. It's interesting to me that God steps into all this. In the Bible, do not fear shows up 365 times.
Wow.
You think that's one for every day?
Yeah, I was going to say, that's why
one for every day. Do not fear. Like every day God's saying, don't fear. Why? Why? He says, because I got you. Nothing's ever happened that I didn't know about. Nothing's going to happen that I don't know about. And right here in this present moment, I got you. I got you. I mean, so far, every hard day I've had in my life, I've gotten over. 100%. I'm right here. I'm 100% winning that. And you can look at that and say, okay, so in the scriptures, God says, You have 700 phobias. That's what we have that are documented, right, in the DSM. 700 phobias. God says don't fear 365 times. So God comes in on this and he goes, look, 1 John 4:18, he goes, look, you have a choice between fear and love. Your cells will choose this. You'll say something, and your body will respond. And God says, perfect love casts out all fear. In the Greek, what's really crazy about this is that all fear, all means all. And so it's every one of them. All 700 phobias that you could have. You could actually be afraid of fear. That's literally called phobia. You could really have that. And God says, calm down on this and just soak in the fact that I love you. I made you. I'm in it with you. Jesus says over and over in Matthew 6, all things, every hair in your head's numbered. And he goes on, see those birds out there? I already know about them. I mean, Jesus is talking all the time about, look, I got you right now. It's like the cosmic, I got you. I got you. And so, man, I'm always going back to that because, man, I could flip out. I do. And sometimes I'm like, what am I doing? I'm acting like I'm throwing a tantrum over here like I'm in preschool. Because I'm making choices that my cells are responding to. So, heads up on that is that, man, if you choose fear over love, look out.
Yeah, one of the things I want to add about that too, if we're going to talk about solutions, because we know all of this is what's wrong and what we kind of do from a gut level sometimes. So, we need to pay attention. We need to be in the present moment. Because that's where we meet God, is in the present moment, not in another time zone.
Yeah.
So what happens, and they've literally shown this, is when you're watching the news all the time, you're kind of binge watching the news, what literally happens physiologically, especially to women actually, which has been shown, is that you go into stress, anxiety, lack of sleep. And part of that stress reaction, your adrenal glands release cortisol and adrenaline. And it's pouring
Hey guys, get this.
now.
Wait, watch. Look at this.
That's awesome. I love it.
I love them.
It's being cleansed.
Yeah. It's kind of a cleansing moment here in Hawaii, here in Haiku. It's so beautiful out there. We're actually getting a mid-afternoon rain.
Awesome.
Anyway, wish you were here. That's what we're trying to say.
So this will help your stress hormones, like a torrential downpour like this. So your cortisol is going off the chart. Your adrenaline's going off the chart, and that's literally been shown physically. I mean, that really harms you physically if you're in an overstressed state and you're in fight or flight. So one of the things we're going to recommend as a solution is, how we all have our kids or grandkids monitor their time that they play videos and games? Well, we need to do that for ourselves. Limit the amount of time per day that you allow yourself to watch the news right now. And social media.
Be strategic about it.
Yeah.
You know how much you can take and can't take. You know when that 51-49 split is not in your favor.
Yeah.
So like sometimes we'll sit there and Beth will look at me and go, gotta go. And seriously, she's doing self-care. She'll go, I'm done with all that news. If I keep doing that, I'm gonna fill up with a lot of crap. And so I just need to go. So she'll, leave me on the couch alone and fend for myself. But it's really hard. Anyway.
You should leave too.
Right, but it's true. I mean, you. This actually means adulting. You know you. And so that's what she's talking about here is a big deal. Can I tell that story real quick in Matthew 14 about Peter?
Oh, please. Yeah.
Okay, so here, I love this, right?
I love it too.
I'll be quick. Matthew 14, you guys know the story. Some of you don't. Let me bring you in. Sea of Galilee, been there. Really, really crazy wave activity going on. Kind of like that movie Perfect Storm, right? You got Jesus and 12 disciples. Actually, Jesus isn't on the scene right yet. He's back here. He kind of kicked him off. He's still on shore, right? That whole deal. He kicks him out. He goes, I'll see you on the other side. They get in the middle of that thing, and it's big. And man, they're not in a good spot. It's like the wind, the way that it's basically in the Greek, and I know it says it's a hellastorm. It's a hellastorm, man. Like it's crazy out there, right? And then here comes Jesus on the water. He goes, come on out, fellas. 11 dudes are boat potatoes, man. They're sitting in there as boat potatoes, and they're like, no way. And they're screaming it because Peter starts to get up. Like he's going to go and like, don't do that. All of a sudden here, really, this is the social media and the TV of the day were those 11 dudes.
Boat potatoes.
11 boat potatoes telling everybody what to do. And Peter goes, I'm shutting you out. I'm going to choose love over fear. And I'm going to reach out there and see what happens. And he goes for it. He goes for it. And he starts to drop. We all know that. And then Jesus comes along and gets him. And it's all good. But Peter gets a bad rap in that. Like, here comes that dork. He's going to step out there. I'm like, he ain't the bad guy. There's no bad guys. You know, he's 11 boat potatoes back here that he had to shut off.
Because they were scared.
He had to shut him off. Because they were telling him, you're going to die. This sucks. Jesus is a crook. He's just, he's leaving us behind. And all this stuff's going. You should have seen the front page in that boat. It sucked. And Peter goes, man, I'm in. I've got 51:49 clearance right now. I've got more courage than fear. I'm basking and bathing in perfect love. And I'm taking the step. Man, I tell you, that story fires me up. Every day I go, okay, God's going to ask me to get out of the boat. And I don't know if I'm going to or not. And then so I kind of sit there and I think about it for a while. I do. And you know what? Sometimes I don't. And I can look back and go, boy, I regret that, and that. Because, that's me, bag of machetes.
Okay, so here's the perfect time to say,
yeah,
stay in the present moment.
Yeah.
And your tendency is go back into the past and beat yourself up with the bag of hammers or bag of machetes or whatever the weapon is of the day.
Yeah.
And my tendency is to go future tripping into fear. And what's going to happen now? What's going to happen with my money? What's going to happen with my dogs? What's going to happen with my business? Am I going to be able to help people? What if somebody can't get a hold of me? What's going to happen? What if my mom gets sick? Okay, all of that future tripping is what I do. And then you go back in the past and beat yourself up.
Yep.
So both of us, no matter which one of these you tend to do, and maybe you do both, maybe you go back into the past and there's an old trauma that makes you think about what's happening right now in the world. Like, oh my God, remember when this was happening and one of my family members was sick, or remember concentration camps and people were quarantined in a terrible way. So you're going back there and terrifying yourself. Or you're going into the future and, oh my gosh, it's going to be so terrible. It's going to be the worst ever. The world's going to end. Be in the present moment.
Yeah, we call that look down.
Yeah.
Like, a lot, we'll even look at each other sometimes. I'll be freaking out about something and, Beth comes along and goes, look down. I look down. My feet are on the ground in this present moment. That is where I am. I'm not in front. I'm not behind. God ain't out there in the front. He ain't out. God says he forgets all that stuff from behind. He knows exactly what he's doing. God's like, I'm not in your past. I'm not in your future. I'm in your right now. Meet me right now. And in Psalm 121, verses 1 through 4, I love this. It's the Hebrews are walking up to Jerusalem for a festival. All of them, all the outlying areas, right? And all along that place, there's mountains. And the songwriter goes, they sing songs together as family. Wouldn't that be great? Matter of fact, get with your family. Make sure they know where you are, and make sure that you guys are all surrounding. You're surrounding other people right now. Get your family involved. And they sing this song. I lift my eyes up to the mountains, right? I look down first. This is where I am now. I'm looking up. Where does my help come from? It comes from you, God, maker of heaven and maker of earth. You're my maker. And because you're my maker, man, I can do this. I can take next steps. Big time, look up here. Look up, God says. Look down first. You're in the present moment. Look up because I'm there with you. And offer your heart to me. And in 1 Peter 5:7, I love it, says, cast all your burdens upon God because he cares for you. It's a sheep, I don't know how to do a sheep. I want to go, but I think that's a goat. That's where, oh my God.
I'm glad you're not a sheep.
Yeah. No, I am. So as, but it really, he says, come on, offer your heart, all your burdens, because I care for you. Perfect love casts out fear. So we want to talk about just the last piece of solutions here. I mean, you want to talk about creativity?
Yeah. Yeah, and one of the things to do during a moment like this in our time and in our history to help us eradicate fear is living in the present moment. One of those things with living in the present moment, which we're all being given this opportunity to do, and I gotta say, I look at it as an opportunity. I talked to one of my friends in Canada yesterday, and she was looking at the silver lining and what were all the good things coming out of this for her, with herself and her family and her business and her inner life, and working with her heart and dropping down into her heart. And one of the pieces with that is exploring your creativity. Okay, our Creator made us creative. Our Creator created us in his image of creativity. We're creative. That means not being a boat potato or a couch potato and just, watching one series after another on Netflix. Be creative. Shakespeare wrote Macbeth, King Lear, and Antony and Cleopatra during quarantine during the Black Plague. Isaac Newton during the bubonic plague created the theory of gravity and calculus, which I haven't figured out yet, during the plague. That's creativity. Let's get going on creativity right now.
Yeah, I call that rebuilding your life. Like, you have time right now. You have time. This would be the time I'd be saying, God, what do you want me to do next? God, how do I prepare for the next step? We were just talking to my son, Brody. We got him hooked up with a Fox sports guy because he wants to go into sports broadcasting. We looked at Brody and said, let's talk to him. We did. We, FaceTime. We had that going. And we said, now's your chance. Because, right now he's an Uber driver and he's in college. And he helps, out with some accounting stuff.
And no college right now.
Right. So he's got nothing. And we looked at him and we said, go for it. So we're setting him up. Like, start preparing for your next step. You're going to graduate here this year. Start now. This is a gift. It's a gift. So, take advantage of it. Rebuild your life. Be creative about it. What could happen next? And the second thing you can do, huge on this thing to combat fear, is not only you want to rebuild your life, but you want to be able to come along and rebuild your team. That's it. Rebuild your team. And here's what I mean, okay? Right now it's connect time. Be creative and connect. So what I'm doing, one time a day, I write down a bunch of people that I really haven't touched base with much in the past couple of years. I've been off the grid a little bit. And one of them a day, I'll just say, hey, really miss you and I love you. What's going on in your life? Here's what's happening in mine. Just to connect, because I need a team around me. So I'm rebuilding a team. A guy by the name of Tom Chenault is one of my team members, and he's got this incredible app. It's called Contact Mapping. Go to contactmapping.com. Contactmapping.com. Get the app. It basically tells you every day who to get a hold of. It lets you know. Here's some business people that bought from me. It's like your account executive of all your friendships. That's your account. What are you doing with your account? Are you getting out there and meeting all that kind of thing? So this is your chance right now to rebuild your life and rebuild your team. And that doesn't happen
You're in fear.
if you're in fear and you're just comfort fooding it. If you're just, comfort watching it, if all you're doing is, I love you, right? But if you're sticking your thumb in your mouth and going into the corner, getting into the fetal position and get your crayon book out, this is not the time. It's not the time.
You can get your crayons out.
You can get your crayons out. Okay, sorry. All right, sorry. Bring the crayons. So, can we go just a little long? I just want to get 2 more minutes.
I have no idea how much time we got. Yeah, go.
Okay. We kind of want to close this up and really talk about kind of how to kind of take some steps and what does it look like in real life. We've given you a lot of things you can do, but I tell this story here and there when I'm speaking in front of groups, and so you might have heard, I love this story. So when I went to start a church in Boulder back in 1996, we started to grow, and we didn't have a youth pastor, so strategically, we decided that's what we wanted to do. And I was interviewing all these people around Denver and on the phone with folks, and it came down to kind of a few guys. And one guy I met with was Paul Andrews. He just, talk about a great guy. So we're sitting there talking about things. He just got fired from some, fundamentalist church that, stuck their shoe in his butt. And so he was sitting there across from me, kind of hurt and all that, but he was ready. You could tell. We were talking, and he goes, so tell me more about your church and how much risk is it there? You're new, and so you're going to put money in there for a youth pastor. What happens if it doesn't work out? That kind of thing. I said, well, we're a suitcase church for the staff, which means you better have it packed. You better have your suitcase packed when you come here because we don't know, and right now it's lean. It's lean, man. And I went on about here's the stats on that, and it's not very good a lot, but here's kind of what's going on. I think God is here, And Paul looked at me and goes, well, that's just worst case scenario. And I go, okay, worst case scenario. Yeah. Okay, what would that be? He goes, well, you and your family, me and my family, we just get to go do something else.
Yeah.
And here I was thinking, life would be over.
Of course.
I have no money. So I think I'm so future tripping at this point. I'm kind of not to sell to Paul because I'm scared, right? So I'm going to tell him everything. Maybe he'll just, you know what he did? We went through the worst case scenarios, and then I looked over at him and I go, well, what do you think? Give it to me. I'm ready. And he looks at me. He's got this red hair. He looks like Opie. And he sat across from me, and he looked over at me, and he goes, Giddy up. Giddy up. I go, what do you go? Giddy up. Let's go. And he had a big smile. So ever since then, I see people and we're like, oh, what are you going to do? I go, giddy up, baby. Giddy up.
That's right.
That dude was 5149. His courage quotient was way high and his fear was low. And he went, you know what? What's the worst thing? Got to go find a job somewhere else and that's it. We'll just have to pick up and move or something. Okay. Giddy up. So, all week this week, next week, when you're there and you're getting all afraid and what if this and what if that, just grab the people around you and go, hey, giddy up.
I love it.
Giddy up. Okay? So, want to close, this social distancing thing, I think a lot of people are sweating it out. And I just think about Jesus in this, okay? So, there were people that you socially distanced from. Hold on. I'm gonna drop my cap. There's all this social distance. Jesus, in his day, the lepers were the people you socially distanced from, right? I mean, they had their own little camp outside of town and leper colony. And then, you had the socially awkward in Jesus' time too. You had the poor and the homeless, all these people, everybody's like, man, not going to hang out with them. You know what I noticed? Jesus not only has them bump into him sometimes because he was in town all the time, he went looking for them. Everybody else is like, hey, you got to social distance from all these, weirdos. Jesus went, that's who I came for. I came for the misfit toys, man. I came for the disenfranchised, the outcast, the homeless, the person that is dying in a hospital bed, the little leper. And he just went on and he goes, those are my peeps. And everybody there was going, I thought you were going to come and be a king and, rule and we're going to kick the Romans' ass. What happened to that plan? And Jesus goes, it's never been. I'm building a kingdom that no one would have ever thought to build except for God. And I know right now I've had a lot of time on my hands, and Beth knows this. I'll start beating myself up. Last week we did this thing, and I was like, all my fear popping up and all this stuff, and she looked at me. She's like, dude, we're good, man. We're good. I know it's been 7 years for you and all this stuff, but man, we're good. Let's go. Let's go. So I just want to throw this out there, man. Giddy up. Jesus never had social, distancing. Matter of fact, you might think you've done a lot of bad things and you're getting in your head. Just know, Jesus draws closer to you in mess ups and failures and loss and face planting. He draws nearer to you then. All your imperfections, he goes, thank goodness there's a path to you. And he takes it every time. So I just want to put this out there, okay? He's waiting for you. He's just standing right next to you. Right now, you've got all these things rushing through your head and all this go on, man. Perfect love casts out all fear. And Jesus is offering that to you. So, can I pray for us? And then we're going to give you 3 things, kind of call to action out of here. But we'll go ahead and get this all wrapped up, and I'll throw the video out. Tell all your friends if they're struggling with this stuff. But just know you're loved, okay? Let's pray. Father, this is a quick one, because you know what's going on in our world, the health crisis, all that. But God, we pray for those people that literally are dying and the people around them that are losing friends and relatives and other family and just best friends and all this, and it just seems weird. And what happened, and it kind of came out of nowhere for us, but it didn't come out of nowhere for you. And you wouldn't call us as your people to take next steps out of fear into courage and love if you wouldn't resource us to do that. So, Father, we're taking you up on it. We're going to cast all our burdens on you. So here we go. They're all yours. Out of the spirit of my heart, out of my soul, they're all just leaving and going to you. So, Lord, thank you for doing that, and thank you for giving us clarity. Keep on keeping on, God. Just keep on with us and show yourself in amazing ways. Thanks for loving us like this. We trust you in our next steps to guide our paths. Amen. Call to action. You want to talk about that?
Yeah. Our next talk is going to be Friday night live. Of course, you can catch it later anytime on Facebook and actually on our YouTube channels too. So we're going to talk next Friday about, okay, today was how to manage fear. Next week is going to be, or Friday, is going to be how to deal with isolation during these times of social and physical distancing. Okay, so that will be on Friday. We're going to do that at, let me look here.
9 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Central,
Thank you.
7 o'clock Mountain, 6 o'clock Pacific, 3 o'clock Hawaiian.
That's all PM.
And I'll send a ton of invites out. And again, share with your friends, would you? We're building an online community of people that want to live. They just want to do life and do it well, man. They want to do it, they want to do it with God and they want to go for it. And there's no judgment here. There's no BS, nothing but grace and love. And that propels us. So there you have it.
And we've got a couple YouTube channels where you can check out all of our videos too. One is through my website, which is best, as in you are the best, Healing Solutions, besthealingsolutions.com. But Best Healing Solutions YouTube channel. And then Gil and I have a new YouTube channel that's Gil and Beth Jones. So you can look that up as well. So pretty much same videos on both of those. But the Best Healing Solutions YouTube channel has some health tips on it that I shared this past week about prevention of COVID-19. And then also some nutritional supplements for COVID-19. So you might want to check that out as well. And then next step is, hopefully over this week, we're going to develop another Facebook group. It's going to be a private group for people that want to know more than these shorter talks. And of course our talks are always longer than we thought. But
Sorry.
A private Facebook group. It's going to be like $25 for a year to join that, where we are going to do some Q&As.
Yeah.
Okay, so after our talks, we're going to do question and answers to get deeper on the subjects that we're sharing. So look for that. That's not quite there yet, but YouTube is there now, and then our next talk is Friday.
Yeah, we want to hear from you so we can help you. That's what that private page is about, is people wanting to take another step to say, I want to live this out, but I want to ask questions about it, and I want to connect with, Gil and Beth, and I want to hear what other people are thinking, and I want to go for it. We'll do Zoom, be video stuff, video conferencing. Awesome stuff. So, just to say, we do, I love you guys. Thanks for bringing us into your home. Almost 800 people watched this last week. Let's see this grow, and let's have a great time. Thank you very much.